You really need to investigate your American heart. You need to ask yourself, especially if you're older. I'm not trying to shame you, but remember, the race must be run without pots, right? Because this is the final stretch, and you want to run well so that Jesus can say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." You need to take some time in the house and ask yourself, were you ever really touched with the pain of any of these moms that cried as their children died because of American aggression and America's penchant for war? Did you ever really think of it as anything more than, my daughter went to Vassar and she majored in Middle Eastern studies. Your daughter went to school and got paperwork in something that she doesn't understand. She's probably teaching it at Vassar right now, if you're old enough. She was good enough to get tenure as a professor. She's teaching the class she once took. And she doesn't have any empathy or understanding of what it is that she's talking about. It's talking points. It's stuff that people drop over coffee to show that they have a good education. But they're not touched, Yah says. Empathy, mercy, grace, compassion. They're not touched with those things. They're not touched with love. Simply to know that it's not right for blood to flow unchecked as a false balance of power is maintained, supported by greed. So God is asking, the same way he asked Job, were you there when I formed Leviathan? It's the same way he's asking America, what do you really know of the Middle East? What do you really know of Jacob and Esau fighting for inheritance, or even Jacob and Ishmael fighting for the love and the inheritance of their father, Abraham? What do you know of that? Not Jacob, Isaac, actually, but what do you know of the enmity between the sons? He said, you don't know their real story, but you think you're acquainted with the story of these two boys. And this thing piqued my interest, and I asked God about it, which I'll get to later. But God is saying that the Middle East has been a powder keg for a long time, a very long time. And then he says something here. He says the powder has dried. You know that gunpowder can't be used when it's wet. It won't spark. At least in the old settler guns, the powder has to be kept dry, which is why men would wrap it up, just in case, when they were out and they got caught in a rainstorm on their horse, that the gunpowder stayed dry, because it's no use unless it's dry. And now he says that powder keg that has been kept dampened by Western interference, by never being touched with the plight of the people in Palestine, he says the powder has finally dried. And now that dried powder is going to be set off. And when it does, you will see missiles starting to rain down once more on Palestine from Israel. But Yah says, in the time that this war starts, so whenever it's going to be this war, here's the danger. Missiles rain down, and then we think it's it, and it's just another attack. But Yah says, the time when you see missiles raining down with a different response, that's the time to watch out for. The time that is the war, the response will be very different. So me being curious, I was like, Lord, what's the real story of Jacob and Esau? Because I wanted to know, is there something more to the story than what I've understood by studying it, by praying, by getting revelation of the Holy Spirit? But the Lord just casually replied something like, oh, they hated themselves from the beginning. They hated themselves from the very beginning. And that's exactly how it is now in the Middle East. He said, Israel has hated her neighbors from the very beginning, even though it is she who has no right to be there. He said it's just an analogy. And we know that Jacob and his brother from the womb, they were fighting in their mother Rebekah's womb. And the Lord said that he had put enmity between the two houses.